I'm all about the good vibes, the good vibes. We bout to have a good time, a good time. Leave my problems all behind, all behind. We living out the good life, yeah. I ain't gotta worry about a thing.
Oh no.
Had some obstacles I overcame.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to ever be the same.
Oh Lord.
Cause when we change the mind, we change the game. Coming through clutch. Coming through clutch. Coming through clutch.
Yo. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Kenny Clutch with another episode on the Clutchvision podcast. This is episode number 21. And 21 is a special number for me and my family. Just so you guys know, Christian has trisomy 21, which means he is Down syndrome. And going into March, it is World Down Syndrome Day on March 21st, just to keep you guys aware of that. So if you have a special organization that you would love to donate to, make sure you wear your crazy socks and make sure that you donate to World Down Syndrome Day. And post your pictures online, post them wherever, tag me in them. We're going to be wearing our crazy socks. It's going to be going down. I got a special guest in the building, and I don't want to just say special. I say special a lot, but this guy is really a special guest. If you guys really want to know how my dance career actually started, it started with this guy right here, knocking on my door in the summer of 2003. Fresh out of high school, my next door neighbor, Brice Johnson, Professor Locke, is all the way here from Denmark.
Man.
Denmark right now, United States.
Cold out here.
What's going on, bro?
What's up, man?
Chilling.
It's crazy that we able to do this like this. We chilling right now. I'm forever amazed by technology. Or like I know a lot. It's become normal that you could video chat, but like in these situations, when you just gave me that intro, I'm like, yo, that's right. We started, but knocking on the door, and it's like to now here in two separate countries, just like talking to each other this way. It's cool, man.
Super dope. So just to give everybody a little bit of background, everyone, Brice Johnson, Professor Locke, we go back. We've known each other since we were really 13, 14 years old. And we come from a small town in New Jersey called Willingboro. And we represent Garfield North, represent our part, Garfield North. And it's crazy how this came about, because I was always, a dancer at the parties and stuff like that. But it wasn't until Brice came to me knocking on my door and asking, yo, man, I'm putting together a group. You want to be down? And we had no clue what we were doing. All we had was a spark. We just had a passion, some kids and everything from the borough that just had, a passion to just dance and move. My question is, what was you thinking?
Bro, honestly, my initial thing was because, first of all, I always had the mindset of I'm gonna work for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it was supposed to be through soccer, because you remember I played soccer my entire school career, and then I broke my leg in the championship game in 11th grade. And by the time I healed and got back, I didn't really want to play that final year. And the colleges and everything stopped looking at me, because of that. And so it wasn't soccer, but I was like, all right, I got to do something. So that summer, I realized, okay, you guys dance, because remember, I really wasn't the dancer. Just so everybody knows, I was the last one to start dancing. The only time I danced was in my living room, Michael Jackson moves and stuff. But I was like, all right, I can be the manager. So I was getting on my ditty. I was like, all right, I'm gonna get you guys together. My dad, he got the African drum ensemble. We can open up for them, and you be the manager. Y'all get some, and I make some from it. That's how it started.
Right, exactly.
So that's where it came from. It was that entrepreneurial mind, from a young age, that I want to work for myself.
Right. Right. And it's funny, like our lives are so parallel to each other. And we've gone through some of the same things. And for me at
Oh,
the time,
like almost too identical in some areas.
we're gonna get into that. But from the story, from starting in you being a manager, I was like, I remember telling my mom, like, Mom, I'm going to start dancing. I'm going to be in this group. Brice is starting a dance group and everything down the street. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get down. If y'all can hear Christian in the background, don't mind Christian. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know how it get. But it was like, yo, we starting this dance group. We going to start practicing, and we started practicing on Bryce's patio deck. And that was like where our first practice was. And
Yep.
it was, when you look back at it now, it's like those humble beginnings. You know what I'm saying? How important is it for that person today, no matter what genre that they're in, to just look back for a second and look how far they actually came? Because some people, they get to a point in life, they're getting halfway through and then they want to stop. What do you say to the person that started where we started and then look at where we're at now? What do you say to that person to encourage them to keep going?
That with all that talent and everything that they have, they're missing that one thing that is important, and that's vision. They're missing that vision aspect of it, and vision comes from three things. It comes from insight. Vision is foresight, but it comes from hindsight after insight. So, it sounds like a lot, but basically what I'm saying is it's important to look back at what you've done, what you've accomplished, just for two reasons. One, you get to see that, I have grown, I've made progress. But then after you see that, then it makes your vision clearer. It brings clarity to what you want for yourself. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you keep running through that hamster wheel, and in the moment for the wrong reasons. So I think it's important to see where you came from, because that's how you start to get kind of like that wisdom and that knowledge and that understanding of where you're at and why you're at where you're at, and then where you could potentially go.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So you mentioned earlier that you broke your leg. Senior year, you just didn't want to do it anymore. And was it the process of getting back on the field that discouraged you? Or was it something that it was the process?
No, it was the process. And because what happened in that process is that, and it was actually, I never actually really talked about how hard it was to come to terms with. But what I realized is that, up until that point, I never had anything against me. Mm-hmm. Like, I was just good naturally. I'm naturally athletic. Mm-hmm. So I was just achieving. And then I get that, so this is back since I was 4 or 5 years old. Mm-hmm. Never had an injury, anything like that. So when I got my first injury, and when it came down to rehabilitation and all that stuff, I didn't take it seriously. And that's when I realized, okay, I really don't want this. Mm. I was just good at it. Mm.
So that brings me to a good point, because a lot of people are good at the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I'm saying
that's now you're talking about purpose.
Right. So how important is it, in your opinion, for people to, wholeheartedly understand that even though that you have a passion for something, that may not necessarily be the route that you should take to serve in the world? Yeah. To that you say?
To that I say, it's a hard pill to swallow. Yeah. And it's not something that, it's something that could really hit you in a way where you're like, well, then who am I, what I'm supposed to do, all those things. It's like, for instance, if you're good at being a plumber, let's say that. But if you're really good at it, but you're not happy doing it, if you're not happy,
Right.
if you don't feel satisfied, if you don't feel fulfilled, then there's something wrong there.
Right.
There's something wrong there. Maybe that's not what you're supposed to be. You're not supposed to be doing.
Right. Right.
We all are born, or at least this is what I believe, is that, we're born with our purpose in us.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us just don't get to give ourselves the opportunity to access it because it's not something that's taught to you. It's not something that's shown to you except by God. And it's not something that you can just discover. It's already there.
Right.
You just have to access it. So me not wanting to put the effort in to get back on the soccer field, some will say, oh, that was just lazy at the push. That could have been the case if I didn't take the time to realize and understand, nah, this is just not what I want to do. I'm just good at it.
Mm. Yeah, right.
And then dance came.
Right. So dance comes in, and you at first were the manager getting us to gigs and stuff, but then you something switched in you, something flipped in you. But in that time,
Yes.
If we can go deep, like you were a father early.
Yep.
And something flipped in you to where you wanted to dance, like you wanted to learn, you wanted to something just happened.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah. Likewise, you said I was a father. So for those of you like, okay, was, and for those in Denmark who are like, nah, but he is. So it's two different time periods where happening. Right now, I am a father of a beautiful
Yes.
little boy.
Shout out to Gabriel, little Gabriel.
Shout outs to his mom
And his mama.
pushing that beautiful boy and nurturing that beautiful boy. But
What up, cat?
But back then, yeah, in high school, I had a little girl, or at least I thought, and that's where the was comes in, because after about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, I want to say, I found out that she wasn't mine.
Right.
And when you say something flipped in me, something did flip in me, but it's interesting because what flipped in me turned something off. But when it turns something off, it turns something else on in me. And it's really weird. My empathy, my love for self switched off. And so what happened was I started throwing myself into external validation and quick fixes. And one of those things was dance, because I saw how it made you guys feel. I saw how girls responded to it. I saw how the kids in the schools that we were performing at, how it lit up their day. I saw all these different forms of happiness, and I wasn't feeling happy. So I latched on to that, and I was like, all right, well then I'm gonna start dancing then, because it looks like that makes people happy.
Right.
So, and that was my first leap into external, what do they call that? Self-medication.
And if I can jump in here, like I feel that the rise of it, I don't want to take the full credit, but I feel like I had a lot to do with the spark.
You cocky as heck, man.
No, this is what I mean. Wait. This is what I mean. Because if you remember the battle that me and you had.
I know what you're talking about.
That's the thing. Like we went in at, and you got me at the All
right, so let's talk about it then, because you jumping all the way to the end.
No. I'm sorry. This is in the beginning still, like when we were still like kind of building.
Yeah, but how we got there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what y'all should know is that Kenny and I, as much as we've grown up together, we've always grown, but we've had our moments.
Right. Yes.
And we've always had something between. You can ask, and Josh used to make fun of this, but we always had something between us where we were just competing.
Always.
Like we always trying to one up each other.
Right.
Always, like it could be for the stupidest things.
Right. Video
Something
games,
simple.
it didn't matter.
Yeah, it didn't matter what it was. Like, it was just something between Kenny and I that was a constant competition. And it was like it is not the normal, like when you competing with your homies. It was like
Right.
from sun up to sundown.
Yeah.
And
Like,
girls and dance and
whatever.
video games.
But
Oh, man.
it was like, but if we think about it as grown men now,
Yeah.
I would argue that it made us better. You know,
Oh, absolutely.
it made us better competitors, respectfully. Even though even in our immaturity or whatever and what we were doing, there was still something there between the both of us where we wanted to be great, period. Like
oh my gosh, yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so to that point, so, you know, Kenny at the time, you know, he was better than me.
Right.
You know, and so Josh I started training and getting better, and Josh was like, I don't know, Kenny, you know, Bryce is getting his weight up. We was driving to Philly.
Right.
And Kenny was like, man, Bryce ain't never gonna be better than me.
Right.
When he said that, I kept quiet. I worked at Foot Action at the mall, the Burlington Center Mall, rest in peace.
Right.
And
yeah.
But
you gotta tell the mall, rest in peace to the mall, because that mall is dead.
That mall, yo, oh man.
But go ahead.
And if it ain't dead yet, somebody to pull the plug.
Man, pull the socket.
So yeah, so I'm at Foot Action, and I was, you know, this is about a week later, and it's been burning in me. So then I'm at Foot Action at my job, and I call Josh, yo, what y'all doing? So I don't know what y'all was doing. I was like, yo, you with Kenny? He's like, yeah. I was like, yo, tell him to come here. We're gonna battle at the parking lot.
Right.
And mind you, we getting high off of Freshest Kids, not high, but we was watching Freshest Kids,
right?
Beat Street, all the hip hop movies. So we was just trying to live hip hop. So I was like, yo, Kenny, meet me after I get off. Meet me in the parking lot, and we gonna battle.
Right.
And that's what happened. Everybody came, pulled the cars up, and put the music on. We battled. I won.
Yeah, you won. You got that one.
And the rest was history after that, yo.
Right.
We started taking off from there. And to your point, Kenny, about that was needed. I'll even go as far as to say that, and we could debate this with the rest of the fellas, Josh and Brandon and everybody. But I think what happened at that moment, if you look at everything as the blueprint, like we talk about, that moment was like the final piece that was needed for the puzzle in order for the takeoff to start to happen.
Exactly. And that's what I was going to allude to, because we were missing something collectively as a group.
Yeah.
And it was like we didn't have our Hulk. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like when it came to, like, you know, and if you look at it from an Avengers standpoint, you know, we didn't have our that animal, that guy that was going to, you know, that home run hitter. We didn't have a cleanup hitter. We had a leadoff. We had a dope second. We had a dope third, but we ain't had nobody to actually clean up. But it's those battles with any sport, with any genre, whatever it is that you do. I want people to understand this one thing. Like, we train with each other like every single day, and we challenge each other every single day. And many people would fall in that aspect, you know, but I'm gonna be honest with you, that made me even, you know, hungrier, because I wanted to get to, I'm like, oh snap, there is a new level, because we were still young at that time and we didn't know as much as we know now. I'm like, oh snap, there's a new level. Oh, I need that level. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was always.
But that's the thing. That's the thing. Now we live in an age where everybody's trying to be successful and working hard to be successful. I look at these kids and stuff, but we don't live in an age now where it's being encouraged to be good, to get good at what you do. Right. Like, that's all we were trying to do, is be the best at what we do. That's it. Right. If we got paid, we started to realize we could do shows and getting paid. But even in the shows and stuff, we were trying to be the best at what we do.
That's what we do.
And that's what was important. Like that's the takeaway is that,
Right.
or one of the takeaways is that we were just trying to be the best at what we do.
Right. Right. And so let's fast forward a little bit. When we meet Marcus and Drew, you know, and the rest of Philadelphia, and just to give you guys a premise, me and Bryce could be here for 4 hours, 5 hours.
We're
on a time constraint here, but so from there we start hitting every club. You know, I remember that one summer we hit the clubs every day except for Monday. Like
everything between Philly and New York, don't get it twisted.
We was hitting in the clubs everywhere because we wanted to learn. The club was our YouTube. That was our YouTube. That was our Instagram. That was our social media, so to speak, because that's where we went to go learn. We meet Marcus and Drew, and back to the challenging of, one another. That's what sparked even more of a challenge. Like, man, like there's another level.
Mark and Drew taught us to fight.
Right.
They taught us to fight for it. They taught us that, like, how to face them walls, how to face them demons, how to face those, like, that part of it. Like, because we were just young kids having fun at the time. Right. But they taught us how to handle when it's not fun.
Right. Right. And that was hard in itself, especially for me, because I was considered, the weakest link, and it was like, wow, like I got a lot of work to do. But I felt like it was like that fire that everybody else had, man. It was just everybody had a special type of ability. And still does to this day. My question is that, like you said earlier, there are people in this world that they kind of like have everything almost handed to them. What do you say to the person today? It doesn't matter what they're doing in life. What's the fight? Where did you get the fight from? And how do you get them to understand that there's other levels to what you do?
Well, okay, that's okay. For one, that's a loaded question. So let me take that in parts. Let's start with the fight part. The fight part is like, you have to find out, one, where's the meaning and value in what you're doing. So I don't think it's that people, I forget how you just phrased it just now, but I don't necessarily think it's that people are having it handed to them. There is a lot more access now. But what it really is I think it's too many access and options out there that people aren't taking the time to have that conversation with themselves and trying to figure out, what is it that I'm fighting for? What is it that's meaningful out of this to me? One of the things that started for me, that kept me going, was my little girl at the time. Before I found out she wasn't mine, she lit up whenever I started dancing around the house. That's what really pushed me to get better at it, And there's a whole reason why behind that I talked about on TED Talks. And you could just make a link to that for people, because I can't go into all of that. Yeah, but so that was part of it. And then when it came to you guys, after I found out she wasn't mine, then my next thing was you guys.
Right.
I had to fight for y'all. Like, I had to do my part. I had to do my part to rep for each one of you, and for the crew. So our family, our dance family, was the meaning behind it. It wasn't for the fame of it, because we weren't even thinking about fame back then like that. It was literally for something meaningful that you can stand on. Like my brothers, my family, I could stand on that. That's honest.
Right.
I could stand on that. And I think because it was something that I could stand on so solidly and so strongly, that's what made the fight strong. And that's what made it worth it. If the only thing you standing on is, I'm about to get that bag, I'm gonna get these likes, I'm gonna get these followers, and then I'm gonna get put on. If that's what the fight is for you, you're gonna burn out. because there's no value in that. But when I know that when I turn around, I got a whole band of brothers behind me, and what I do on that dance floor they're depending on what I do in that dance floor. That's worth and way beyond anything material that you
Right.
could throw at me.
Right. Right. And I totally agree, man. I feel that, during that time, it was like we only had each other.
Yeah.
And the people that were on the outside couldn't necessarily grasp or see what it is that was being brewed up. And sometimes in life, people just need to understand that that thing that's making you fight, that thing that's making you go, that's all you have. Hang on to that right there, because that's what's
Yeah.
going to, put you on that next level.
Yeah.
And many times people, even within themselves, they don't know how to stand up to themselves. They beat themselves up if they fail. They beat themselves up if they fall, and they need to learn how to stand up to their self. I feel
Well,
that.
see,
Go ahead. You gonna?
no. I was going to say, but remember, because it's like this. Society, the world, you scroll anywhere on your social media, they're teaching us that we're supposed to live for or to find happiness.
Right.
That's a false notion being put out there, because I'm gonna say something right now that for most people might sound unpopular. But you remember in practice one time when Mark was like, "Yo, if you're not about the struggle, then just go home."
Right.
If you're not trying to, and remember we used to, we kind of be like, what are you talking about? I'm trying, I gotta work. I gotta work, man. We talking about I gotta be struggling.
What you talking about?
I gotta struggle to be hip hop. But guess what? I know exactly what Mark was talking. And this is why Mark was always ahead of us with this stuff.
Right.
But I know what Mark was saying, y'all. What I realized is life is about the struggle.
Right.
If you're happy all the time, one, that doesn't make sense. Two, if you're happy all the time, there's no growth.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the struggle that we grow.
Right.
And if you don't want to do the struggle, or if you can't be about the struggle, if you can't handle the struggle and whatever it is that you're doing, then that thing is probably not meant for you to be doing.
Right.
Because if you really want it, you're going to go through the struggle, because the struggle is what's going to make you grow into the greatness that you're going to ultimately be at the end of it. And so, we're going back to what I said about purpose. The way you find that is what has been burning in you since you can remember, that you always wanted to do since you can remember. And I'll give you an example. For me, I was always the dude that wanted to make people feel good about themselves and know that they're better than what they are, or than what they might think about themselves. I was always that way. And I was always the type of person who could take the puzzle pieces and put it together and break it down. So with that said, where I'm at today with the TED Talks, with the teaching of dance, I'm walking right in my purpose now.
Right.
Because I'm not chasing all the other things now. Like, I've realized that dance for me gave me the training to be the teacher that I am. And the teaching training I got from dancing is now manifested into the motivational speaking and the coaching that I do in people's lives now. It gave me that training. So your purpose, and this is the beautiful thing about finding out what your purpose is, guys, is that when you find your purpose, it doesn't matter what you do. You can do your purpose. You can figure out whatever to do your purpose. The skills, the talents that you have, those are just tools. That's not your purpose. That's not your identity. Those are just tools and skills. But when you figure out what your purpose is, you can do with anything. I can do what I do now as a motivational speaker and a coach. I could do that, whether it's through dance. I could do that through writing. I could do that through, if I lost both my legs and arms, I could still do it, because I'm clear on what my purpose is. That's what's going to keep you going. Finding that purpose in what you're doing.
Right. And that's an excellent point. And I know for me, and I mentioned earlier in the interview that our lives are parallel to each other, like almost identical. And Not for those that don't know, a little while after, Brice found out that that his child wasn't his, I also found out that the child that I was raising wasn't mine either. I think for me, that when that happened, I only had one person, which was Brice, that could understand exactly what I was going through. So I credit Brice a lot to a lot of my success, because as well as the other brothers, you know what I'm saying, I credit them all, but Brice in particular, whatever, for this specific reason, because he didn't allow that that situation in his life to keep him down. He found a fight. He found a spark to keep on going. Why do I want?
Yeah.
He could have just said like, "Yo, I'm good. I ain't even gonna do nothing," and be lazy the rest of my life, and have a pity party. But not most men. Most men won't react the way he did, or the way I did rather. I just actually read a story the other day that there was a woman who was physically abused by her husband when she told him that their 3 kids were not biologically his. And for the man that is going through that right now, I know I'm taking a little shift here, but I just think that is important, and I feel this is where the Lord is leading me right now. For that man that is going through that right now, Brice, what do you say to that man? How do you encourage that man to not go and lose his mind as that gentleman did? And I'm not judging that man or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? But this is where it comes down to where we have to have control over ourselves.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So what do you say to that man to encourage him?
Okay. Well,
I know it's loaded, but I think it's
First of all, like, because I'm not a therapist of any
course.
sort.
Right.
But
right.
all right. First of all, let me say, I just ask, okay, Holy Spirit, just guide my words with this one. I would have to say, try be proud of yourself for the amount of love that you poured into that kid.
Right.
Because that love that you poured, especially if you've been there since the beginning of the birth, those first few years, those impressionable years, it could have been no man in that baby's life, or it could have been somebody who's not caring and loving like you are. And you were chosen to be in that baby's life for a reason. Even though it might not be biologically yours, you were there at a crucial point where it needed that specific love uniquely from you, in order to help shape into what they're ultimately gonna become one day. Focus on that as hard as you can, because everything else is gonna be really hard. Everything else is gonna feel like, because I know what it's like, man. Something that takes 9 months to formulate is taken away from you in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
But that love you gave can't be taken away.
Right.
There's no easy way to get through a situation like that, number one. But you have to focus, try your best to focus on the positives out of it. Even for me, like, I had to realize one day, at least I know I'm going to be a good dad, because I was worried about that.
Right.
And that's a big thing. And at least you're capable of loving, and everything in you is angry, and you should be angry. But there's one scripture that I love that says it's okay to be angry, but in your anger, don't sin. Meaning, we human, so you're supposed to be angry. But before you lose it, punch a wall, punch a pillow.
Right.
Be angry, but don't be angry in a destructive way, because that part of you, that loving part of you that was there before all this happened, is still there after all this happened, and it's still there during the healing process of all of this. You are still that loving person. So don't let the lies creep in that make you question yourself, because what happened has nothing to do with you. What happened has nothing to do with you. It doesn't change who you are. So stay and just try your best to maintain that loving aspect of yourself that you got to witness, that part of yourself you got to know only because you were raising a child.
Right.
So hold on to that, because that's the beauty of it. Nothing in this life is guaranteed to us.
Right.
Not even our own kids.
Right.
I say this to my clients, that I ask them a question. I say, "Who are you?" And some of them will say, "Well, I'm a mother or I'm a father." I'm like, no, because if that's taken away from you tomorrow, then then you're not a mother or a father, and it's a hard pill to swallow. But it's, who are you?
Yeah. Right. Right. And
go ahead. That's it.
That was deep. And just to add to that, man, it's like, for that guy that needs the encouragement, who may be just finding out that you're going through this situation, unfortunately, you do have to just look at the position, and ask God, like, why was I put in this position? Because I know I did. And then he made me realize, like, look, I just needed you to pour in. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry that it happened this way. You know what I'm saying? But do you love, the blesser or the blessing? You know what I'm saying? Like, which one do you love more? Because I got you. I'm going to give you something great. But in every aspect, in order for us to graduate, we must go through a series of tests. In order for us to graduate to any level in life, or whatever it is, we must go through a series of tests. And how will we pass those tests, and how will we do on those tests? And many times we don't understand why, God will put us in these certain positions, but it's not for us to understand. That's what we need to understand at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And if we understand that it's not for us to understand, just do it and just trust God. This is where his trust truly, truly comes in. And I know for me, at the time, I was completely broken, to where you put in so much time and so much work into raising, and we're not perfect. We never said that we was perfect fathers or perfect people or nothing like that. But when it was stripped from you, and when it was pulled from you, and this is anything, like when it's pulled from you, pull back and pull back and just look inside or whatever. Like, okay, if it's pulled from you, you pull back as well too, because you need to analyze the entire field, the entire picture, and what's going on here. Many times we only have like this, directly in what's in front of us, and we don't look at the entire wall. Exactly. So for that man that's going through it, you know what I mean? Like, you're not the only brother.
And also transparency. Don't be afraid to be transparent and vulnerable. Be transparent and vulnerable with select people. Don't not with just anybody, but people that you can leave it with, whether it's a therapist, whether it's your best friend, but just you be willing to be transparent with yourself, be honest and transparent with yourself, one.
Right.
Then be transparent. And then for those who are believers, what if there's nobody else we could vent to, we could vent to God. Like, a lot of times we try to clean up our prayers when we go to God for some reason, but nah, go to him, be like, yo, how could you take this from me?
Right.
I thought that everything that you do is to work out for the good. Like, I thought that those who love you get everything working out for the good. Just don't feel good right now.
Right.
It's okay, because he understands, he knows you, he understands you. So do that, because at the end of the day, also you have your relationship with God, so that he has you, but you're angry. So let him have that.
Right.
Don't you think if he's God, don't you think he can handle that?
Right. Right.
But don't be afraid to have that relationship with him. That's what a complete relationship with him.
Right. Through the good.
God, come on, man. Yeah, God, come on, man.
Yeah.
I do everything. I disciple. I'm delivering the word. I'm bringing people to church. And then and this happens.
Right.
What
Right.
is that about?
Right. Yeah, brother. And let's fast forward a little bit. It's like when we were going through when we're in the group and we're going these different ways now. You know what I'm saying? Like we're getting older, but we don't understand exactly what's happening, but it's happening. Like you in the ocean right now, you know what I'm saying? And it's happening. It's like, yo, I thought we were going to do this, or I thought we were going to do that. Like, yo, what's up?
Yeah.
But look at where it has led us. You know, you go on, you move out of Jersey and you go across to the West Coast and you start doing your thing over there. And then you make your way down to Arizona, and then now you're in Copenhagen. So take us through a little bit of these peaks and valleys that God has you going through, and then ending up where you're at right now in Copenhagen. So how does that work?
Man, how does that happen? Yeah.
You can give us a brief summary of it. You ain't got to go through the
Yeah.
chapter by chapter.
We got to do a part. We got to do a part 2, bro. Yeah, it was an audition for So You Think You Could Dance that got me to LA. And then after the audition, I made it all the way to LA and onto the show. Then got voted out in the first week, and then just ripped up my plane ticket I went back. I had it back and forth. There was a process to it, but in that same day of getting voted off, I just said I'm gonna stay here. So I stayed with a cuff and not too much money in my pocket, and half of that went to a motel that night. And I just stayed, and then after that, that whole thing happened. That was kind of that's kind of where my really dark period started hitting in my life. But that whole thing happened, and Arizona became a way out from that darkness that I was in for a month. And then when I got back to LA after that, I realized, okay, so I got another opportunity to go to Arizona again. And while over there, and this is at Arizona State University, shout out to Melissa Brice. That point right there is where I did some soul searching and realized, okay, I don't want to live in LA anymore. And in between that time, I got an opportunity to teach in Denmark through a friend out here, and asked if there was an opportunity to come back. And she said, yeah, we hooked it up. I came back, and in between that time, booked workshops other places, like, in other countries and stuff like that. And then my final time at Denmark was the time, long story short, and through a lot of craziness, I ended up staying, or wanting to stay. And then and once I made that decision, that's where I met my son's mother, which was not the way I planned on staying. I wanted to do it through work, but it ended up being through love. And, and it's the best decision really that could have happened for me, because that was a period where I really hit, I would say, the breaking point of my dark period, where I had to make a choice. Do I want to keep going down this road, or do I want to make a change? And that change is what led me to where I am today. So I think Denmark was always in my path without me knowing. And that's what I'm saying about hindsight. And you always got to look back, because if it wasn't for Denmark, I think like Denmark had to happen for me to be where I'm at, today. Right. A lot of craziness has happened along the way, but where I'm at today, I won't change for anything or anyone.
Right. And you can hang the nail right there. You're not changing for anybody or anyone. and it's not necessarily a constant change, but constant growth. And
Yeah.
and now you're at a point where you're doing TED Talks, and take us through that. Like, you know, you're doing TED Talks, and now you're motivating people, you're speaking, and you found your, you know, your relationship. Not saying that you found your relationship with God. Your relationship with God has gotten on another level.
No,
And
I went back. I turned my back on God for a
right,
while.
that's what I'm saying. But it's
Yeah.
but you still, either way, it's not like, I'm not going to say like you didn't have a relationship or whatever, but
Yeah.
a
He was
relationship,
always there. He was always there. He kept me close, even though I didn't want to be close. He kept me close.
right. So take us through that. You know, like you start, you know, doing the TED Talks, and what way has God been, you know, bringing you through now?
Well, what's crazy is that when everything happened to me, that brought me down here, I just looked up and said, you know what? I've been trying to do it on my own for the last 15 years, and I can't. I'm gonna die if I keep doing it this way. And I said, God, just do what you got to do with me. Just don't make. I just don't want to live like this anymore. So, true to God fashion, He breaks you down completely so that you can just get rid of all of that, everything, you know, and seek Him and really truly rely on Him. And that's what happened. I got heavy into the Word through you and a couple of friends of mine and through my family. And I started getting heavy into the Word. And I think I spent so much time just studying the Word and just I stopped dancing, everything for a while, just focused on my relationship with God. And the minute I started getting back into dancing, the opportunity for TED Talks comes to me and manifests itself. And my teaching changed in dance. And basically everything went from teaching dance and doing dance to self-serve myself, to now teaching and doing dance to inspire hope, identity, and purpose in people. And that's what happened with the TED Talks. When then somebody heard me speaking at a workshop, they said, you should do TED Talks because people here really need to hear a message like that. And, you know, after that, I could only thank God, because to be honest with you, like 4 or 5 years ago, I remember saying, you know, I'm going to do a TED Talks. I just really wanted to, but it was just, I never thought that it would happen the way it did. And that's really just God, because I never pursued it, because his life was just a mess. But when my life got cleaned up, it's almost like God was protecting that opportunity from me,
Right.
until I got myself together and was walking with him so that I could go into it the right way.
Right. Wow. That's amazing. And now, you know what I'm saying, that's crazy in itself, because I feel like many people are searching for that answer right there. And are you willing, the question becomes, are you willing to be broken? You know, are you willing to be broken down so that you could be built up the right way? Because
that's what it's going to take.
Right. Because we've like built ourselves up our own way, and it doesn't work. And then, you know what I'm saying? And it's like Tower of Babel or whatever. You're building this or whatever, and then like, all right, God comes along. All right, let me knock that down real quick, you know, and, you know, get that out of here. But my advice to anybody is, are you willing to be broken? You know, willing to if you want success, are you willing to be broken? And like Marcus taught us early, are you willing to really go through the struggle? And are you willing to, you know, for success, are you willing to actually struggle? And for me, and you know, with Christian, that was a struggle with just even learning that he had Down syndrome, because I never raised a child with a special need. So it's like, okay, what are the struggles that we're going to have to go through?
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to go through those struggles? Yes, absolutely. I'm willing to go through those struggles. And many times they asked us to abort Christian because they were afraid of what struggles that he may go through. But in reality, with my faith in what we believe in, God would turn his back on us. So
That's what I was going to say too. And you went through that struggle with his light shining.
Exactly. So it's like we get caught up in our emotions and our feelings, right? And that can be a hindrance sometimes, I feel. And I'm sure you would agree where, sometimes your feelings come and go. So why should we trust our feelings all the time? And I don't think we should necessarily trust our feelings all the time. Yeah, you get a feeling something, but feelings come and go, right?
Feeling is just a signal to get to the root.
Exactly. So, if you want to expand on that.
Yeah, I'm gonna expand on that, and then I just realized I'm gonna have to. We're gonna definitely have to do a part 2 because I think I gotta.
Yeah, this is the last one. We're gonna wrap this up soon.
Yeah, but dang, I wish we could have did this show yesterday. Yeah, all right, cool.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, here's the thing. Feelings are signals for what might be going on. So when you get a feeling, it's not because you're supposed to act on the feeling. It's because you're supposed to shut up, talk, and sit with yourself. And for those of you believers, it's like this. I sit with myself, and I sit with God and His Word, and I figure out, why is this feeling there? What is going on with me that this feeling is happening? For those of you who are not, it's still the same thing. You're still going to stop, sit with yourself, and figure out why you are having this feeling and where is it coming from. Because then you can properly respond. And by the time it's time for you to respond, it's going to be in such a calm and surefire way versus a illogical or irrational way, because you're reacting and shooting from the hip based on the feeling. A feeling is a signal that you're supposed to look deeper, not a signal to go off the hinges.
Wow.
Because feelings aren't necessarily facts. Feelings are just a signal. Like it's the yellow light before the red or green light.
Man, that's super deep, man. So listen, man, we're gonna definitely have to do a part 2. We're gonna have to.
Sure.
We may have to link up or whatever somehow in person to do the next one, because I think we'll have a little bit more time to work it out. Maybe I can take a trip
You can vacay out here.
Right. Facts, man. So listen. So how old is Gabriel now?
He's 3.
3 years old. Wow. Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. So listen, man. I just want to say this, yo. I commend you on being the man that you are, the father that you are. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate every exchange, win, lose, or draw. Through dance, through video games, the brotherhood that we have developed. We literally, no pun intended, but we literally went from boys to men. And I appreciate every conversation that we have, building on our knowledge on God, and building each other up and being there for one another throughout all these years, no matter what we've been through, the fights, the arguments, like everything. You know what I'm saying? It's all for a purpose. And without those struggles, we don't have what we have today. And that's two men that's out there raising our families and bringing the word of God in a special way, and also motivating people to continue to fight for what it is that God has for them.
Absolutely.
And serving His kingdom at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Not for us, but for Him, man. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I commend you on everything that you've been through, and what God has planned for you in the future, man. Like, I just think that that's amazing, brother. And real quick, where can the people find you at, brother?
Wow, that's what I'm not even on social media like that. Shoot, Instagram, Professor Locke, YouTube, my TED Talks. Taking a hiatus from social media, so it's really it's really hard to find me, but I'm happy with that. So, but you know what? Just put a link. Put a link to my thing. I'll send you the links. You can put them up here under the video and on your posts.
Word up, word up, word up. Everybody, it's your boy Kenny Clutch, Professor Locke, Brice Johnson in the building. Willenboro representing Willenboro stand.
Word.
Listen, man. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, comment below, share this video with your mama, your daddy, your auntie, your friend. Everybody needs to, to hear this story. We're going to do a part 2 at some point this year. And we thank you. We love you. Everything, all the support, yo. It's your boy Kenny Clutch, the Clutchvision Podcast. Peace.